I've ever seen in our nation's history. And whilst we are an entire state away, I think it's important that our council sends our deepest condolences to the victims' families and friends. And I also think it's important that we thank and acknowledge the first responders on the scene and also our emergency services here at home. Really, really difficult time. And we acknowledge that it has an impact on people in potentially a number of different ways. So if you do need support, please reach out to us at council. I also want to touch on, before we get into business proper, there was a public statement from our state member for Pakenham, Emma Vullen MP. Much of the state Pakenham district, Cardinia Shire Council is made up by much of that district, and Emma put out a statement saying that she's in the early stages, having been diagnosed with MND, motor neuron disease. So it's also important for us to note, on behalf of this council, we just want to send our warm thoughts, our love and support and positive vibes to Emma. Yeah, we're certainly thinking of you. Thank you for allowing me that. We'll move into community question time now. We've received 6 community questions for tonight's meeting. The first was from Mr. Dean Hurlston of Council Watch. Is Dean here in the gallery? I see Dean is not here. Please note that a written response will be sent to you, Mr. Hurlston. The second question is from Christine Rasmussen in relation to the Pakenham Hospital. Is Chris in the gallery? No, a written response will be sent to Christine. The third question is from Tracy Bowe and relates to Huxtable Road. I have to ask, is Tracy in the gallery? Thank you, Tracy is here. I'll refer this question to General Manager Peter Benezik. Thank you, Peter.
Through you, Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Tracy, for your question. I'll read it out as follows. Why has the commentary changed in relation to the funding for Huxtable Road Sealing project? In all of the 2023 minutes, the meeting of the council has stated that it is a fully funded project and is part of a $25 million major project scheme. In the minutes of the meeting of March, council meeting commentary is now permits and finalise the design expected to be completed in June 2024 for Bessie Creek Road and Huxtable Road. Any scheduling of future works will be subject to confirmation of available funds as part of council's annual budget process. Does this mean council no longer have the funds for these projects set aside? Did they have the funds set aside? When will work commence on the sealing of Huxtable and Bessie Creek roads? Thank you for your question. The Bessie Creek Road and Huxtable Road sealing projects are council-funded road projects under the council's Better Local Roads Strategic Roads Funding Sealing Program. Delivery of these projects is subject to council completing the necessary designs and investigations required to obtain the relevant permits and approvals needed to proceed to construction. These include, but are not limited to, vegetation removal permits and cultural heritage permits. Due to both of these projects being located within sensitive environmental areas near watercourses and home to several significant flora and fauna species, this process is taking some time to complete. As the design and investigation progress, the timeframes become more certain. The required budget allocation is allocated to enable these projects to be delivered, noting that all projects are subject to approval as part of council's annual budget process. The draft budget provides funding for the construction of Huxtable Road in the 2024/25 period and the 25/26 financial year, with Bessie Creek Road proposed to commence in construction in 2025/26 financial year. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Benezik, for that response to Tracy's question. The fourth question we received is from Andrew Little in relation to planning queries. Is Andrew in the gallery? I note Andrew's in the gallery. I will now ask Debbie Tyson, thanks Debbie, to come up and answer that one.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Andrew, for your question. You have 4 questions for us to answer tonight. First one, in the minutes of the December council meeting, a question was lodged and a response was to be provided by the next council meeting. As yet, no response has been provided. Why not? We understand your request for a breakdown of information since the implementation of electronic records for planning permits, including the number of applications lodged for dwellings, caretakers or accommodation for workers by each zone. A breakdown of agricultural use specified in the applications, categorised as soil-based crops, crop racing, or land-based agriculture, cattle grazing, horses, etc., detailing the numbers of approvals and refusals for each of these uses. To fulfil this request, it would require extensive research and a significant amount of staff time. We invite you to explore the online planning register on Council's website, where you can access information freely. Question 2, 3 and 4 I will read out and respond as one. Question 2. In January 2024, the Department of Transport and Planning contacted Council about an outstanding statutory obligation under Section 12B of the Planning Environment Act. This requires Council to review and write a report about its planning scheme and its compliance within 12 months following the adoption of the Council plan. The Department of Transport and Planning allows for extensions of times when these are requested, which as of the January 2024 had not been requested. Why did Council not meet its statutory obligation, noting that the Council plan was adopted in June 2021? Your third question. When did the Risk and Audit Committee and the councillors become aware that Council had not met its obligation? Fourth question. What is the timeline for Council to fulfil its obligation under Section 12B of the Planning Environment Act, including reviewing why its planning scheme does not meet practice notes and guidelines issued by the Minister for Planning? So in response to all those 3 questions, planning schemes reviews require significant investment of time and resources. We have been engaging with the Department of Transport and Planning regarding this review and have an agreement with the department on this approach. The Audit and Risk Committee have not been advised as we have an agreement with the department as mentioned. Thank you, Mr. Little.
Thank you, and a written copy will be sent to all questioners as well. The 5th question is from Helen Colliver relating to dog control. Now, Helen is not able to attend the council meeting, but we will answer her question due to her not being able to. Thank you, Debbie Tyson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Helen. I note that a letter was provided, and I'll speak exactly to the question that was raised, which is, Council, who has records of those who own dogs, could draw up a generic letter suggesting steps be taken by those owners control their dogs. And this is in relation to dog barking in a street. If direct communication attempts to resolve the matter with your neighbours have been unsuccessful, you have the option to file a formal complaint with Council. As part of this process, we will request you to maintain a diary for 3 weeks to document the frequency and duration of the barking, as well as potential reasons behind it. This diary is crucial in helping Council assess whether the barking constitutes an unreasonable disturbance. We can then collaborate with the dog owner to address the barking or initiate further enforcement action if necessary. Council does not send generic letters to entire streets, but if you provide specific addresses of excessive barking dogs, we can send letters to their owners. However, if compliance is not achieved through this process, we will require a diary to proceed with additional resources and actions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Debbie. The 6th question is from Rosa Santo relating to the mural artwork at the Pakenham Girl Guides Hall. Is Rosa in the gallery? I note Rosa is present, and I'll ask Debbie Tyson to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Rosa. So your question relates to mural artwork, Girl Guides Hall and neighbouring property 1/26 Henry Street, Pakenham. There are 4 questions, which I'll read. When was community consultation conducted for this mural artwork, as there was nothing on Council's website or went through a Council meeting? Who authorised the artwork to be completed, what date and what date? What is the cost to Council on this completed project? Where this is itemised for in the last budget or this budget? What other project misses out for this mural artwork to be completed? In response to those questions, Sorry, there was a further question in relation to the artwork on the garage brick wall on private property at Unit 1/26 Henry Street, Pakenham, next door to the Girl Guides Hall. Those questions were, was there permits issued for this private property artwork to be completed by the same artist under the same project? Is council paying for this as well being a private residence? If so, what is the cost to council? In response to all those questions, I'd like to say that I can advise that the Pakenham Girl Guides Hall is not owned, managed or maintained by council. The mural artwork on the hall and neighbouring house was not funded by council, so there was no budget or community consultation required. The project was privately funded. The Mayor attended the unveiling as an invited guest. Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you, Ms Tyson, and I thank our community for their questions. It's nice to see a full gallery. We certainly appreciate that. We're going to get into business now, and we're going to start with our town planning reports. Item 6.1.1 T220285 PA, use and development of land for a medical centre and alteration of an access in a transport zone, Schedule 2 at 337 Belgrave Gembrook Road, Emerald. The officer recommendation is that council resolve to authorise officers to settle the matter via a VCAT consent order, subject to attached conditions. My understanding is that this means an alternative motion is actually required for this item that notes and accepts the outcome of the compulsory VCAT conference and authorises council officers to settle the matter in accordance with conditions set out in the agreement, with the matter having been settled on Friday. So in that case, can I please have a mover for an alternate motion? Councillor Graham Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I move a proposed alternative recommendation that council notes and accepts the attached documents outcome of CC agreement subject to responsible authority confirmation S82, being the outcome of the compulsory conference ordered by VCAT and held on the 12th of April 2024, and authorise council statutory planning department to settle the matter in accordance with the agreement, noting that the permit conditions are generally in accordance with the council's resolution to grant a permit made at the council meeting on the 20th of November 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kay Cameron. Councillor Moore to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cameron, for the second. The alternative recommendation is needed to give effect to the agreement reached between all parties at the VCAT compulsory conference on Friday the 12th of April 2024 as read. The outcome continues to represent the appropriate outcome in response to the Cardinia planning scheme, whilst balancing the desires of the permit applicant and those of the objecting parties. The conditions generally reflect the condition contained in the council report, but has been updated at the direction of the tribunal and agreed upon by all parties, the permit applicant, the objectors, and of course the council's planning department. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I'll now go to your seconder, Councillor Kay Cameron.
Thank you. Through you, I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. We'll now go to any other speakers. Councillor Stephanie Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I would like to note that just raise for community transparency that when council makes a decision, objectors as well as the applicant do have the right of appeal. So if decisions were made on, with the wrong information or the wrong understanding, this is completely reasonable and it's completely their right. This planning application did come to council several times where the council officers actually thrashed out in detail the different objections, the traffic conditions, and a lot of due diligence was given. I think it is appropriate to authorise council statutory planners to negotiate this revised list of conditions on the permit, because I do trust their judgment, having worked on this one. So I know that often these can be extremely contentious, and I did want to just speak just briefly as Councillor Springfield, the ward councillor, isn't here, to assure the community that all objections were listened to, and this decision isn't made without without care. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none. I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Moore, to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Davies, for that further information. It was well read, and thank you. That explanation sometimes needs to be told to our community. So, Mayor, if this alternative motion is approved, this outcome removes the need for all parties to proceed to the final hearing, which is scheduled for the 31st of May and the 3rd and 4th of June 2024. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. We'll now put your alternate motion to item 6.1.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Moving into general reports, item 6.2.1, renaming Officer Recreation Reserve to Rob Porter Recreation Reserve. The officer's recommendation is that council undertake a community consultation exercise seeking community input into the suggested renaming of the Officer Recreation Reserve to Rob Porter Recreation Reserve, in acknowledgement and appreciation of the extraordinary services provided by Mr. Porter to the community of Officer and the wider Cardinia Shire. Can I have a mover to this item? Councillor Colin Ross.
I move the officer's recommendation, and you read out the officer's recommendation, so nothing further to add. Thank you.
Councillor Ross. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Tammy Radford. Councillor Ross to speak, please.
Nothing further. I think it speaks for itself, the recommendation that it goes to a community consultation exercise about renaming the reserve the Rob Porter Recreational Reserve. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I'll now go to your seconder, Councillor Tammy Radford.
Thank you, Mayor. I have spoken to the Officer Rec Reserve Asset Committee and regarding this coming today, this report coming to this meeting, and have encouraged them and all their members to have a say on this as we are bringing it to community consultation. I have confirmed with the committee that the Porter family have now been consulted and are happy to see this report and to see that this could possibly go ahead after community consultation has been conducted. And yeah, so please encourage everybody to have their say. If there's anything else you want to have, you want to say for or against it, that's what this community consultation is for. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tammy Radford. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to draw the council's attention to information in the report, specifically that Geographic Names Victoria are the appropriate body for the direction on renaming of reserves and places of significance. And an exemption was actually sought by council officers to proceed with renaming the reserve with Mr. Porter's name due to the extraordinary service that is this the legendary service made by Mr. Porter. And I'd like to also acknowledge that Councillor Tammy Radford as ward councillor, despite the challenge with a community that is really hurting, having recently lost someone very dear to them, actually did meet with the committee and spoke to them and got their feedback on, you know, on are they comfortable with council debating it, and has sort of worked towards the scene. The report does specify that that Mr. Porter's widow has been contacted and is in support, as in the committee. And I'd like to also acknowledge that community consultation is a formality and process, and at no point in putting this out to community consultation is there any sense of debating or wanting to suggest any negative overtones to it, because I think we can certainly all recollect Councillor Owen, who of the whole council knew him best, and his beautiful tribute that he made earlier. So I would just really like to just reiterate the fact that at this stage the consultation process is really a formality, and the legendary, extraordinary contributions made by the late Mr. Porter will not be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Are there any other councillors who'd like to speak to this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Colin Ross to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, speakers. I'll keep this really short. This is one of the very, very few items that I've had come across council that I think no one would ever debate. It is a decision that is really easy to make. And I know that in 100 years' time, it'll still be called the Rob Porter Recreational Reserve for all those to remember him. They won't probably remember any of us, but they'll remember him, which is wonderful because he basically dedicated so much time to that whole reserve that it would not be what it is today without him, definitely. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. We'll now put item 6.2.1 for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 6.2.2, suburb name for Pakenham East PSP. The officer's recommendation is that council commences community engagement for a period of 5 weeks to seek feedback on 5 proposed names for the new suburb within the Pakenham East Precinct Structure Plan area, and that a further report be presented to council following completion of the engagement process. Do I have a mover? Councillor Graham Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an alternative motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore. Can you please read that out?
I shall read it. I move the proposed alternative motion that council commence community engagement for a period of 5 weeks to seek feedback on the proposed names of the new suburb within the Pakenham East Precinct Structure Plan area. That a 6th name be added to the list with the names to be proposed as Leela, Gwyn, Alice Park, Beatrice Park, Deborah and Honora. That the first popular name following the engagement process be used for the new suburb and the second most popular name used for the rename of the Mount Ararat South Road. A further report to be presented to council following completion of the engagement process with the results of the engagement and proposed suburb name. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Do I have a seconder for that alternative? Councillor Tammy Radford. Councillor Moore to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Radford, for the second. Mr Mayor, where do I start? It's not every day that we get an opportunity to name a new suburb. In my 14 years of being on council now, and I haven't seen this so far, and it's just fantastic to have this opportunity to bring this to the community. I've already had a number of phone calls and conversations with members of the public. Our thanks go to the Berwick and Pakenham Historical Society and Penny Harris Jennings' time to research, and the information is recognised and appreciated very much. Also with Heather Arnold, my friend Heather Arnold from the Swamp Historical Society, who has also provided significant information and research with the members of the Narnagoon Progress Association, with a special mention to Travis Parker and the team there, Travis being the president of the Progress Association. I thank them for their input. The naming process is not simple. You might think it very simple, but it's not. It's quite complicated. And our officers have put many names up to the Geographical Names Victoria and have not been able to use many of the very worthy names that people have suggested. We've ended up with 5 names. An alternative proposed to seek includes the late 6th name of Honora. And I'll speak of the Carney family. This is the Carney family who have farmed that area for many, many years in that Narnagoon North area over the years. Honora, the name of Honora she was 44 when her husband Michael died in 1880. While raising 7 children, Honora was determined to not only keep the family farm, but enhance it. She was a very strong, determined and smart woman in the male-dominated world in those days. She was the family matriarch, a real trailblazer in her day, and in 1887, she purchased the land on the south side of the Princes Highway, which had previously been only leased, and that's where Paul Carney resides today. In 1902, she purchased the land on the northern side of the Princes Highway, where John Carney and Tim Carney lived there for many, many years. Honora continued to run the family farming business with her children, and she had a hand in most of the decisions up to her death in 21st of October 1912 at the age of 76. It seems a clear oversight not to include Honora and recognition of the Carney family and 5 generations of family farming in that area. And I'm seeking support to add this name to the list of 5 to make the list 6, because it's so important to have the Carney family, who are so important to that area. And I even blame myself for not getting involved in asking the Carney family of what they would suggest would be a great name for that area. Officers advise that they can adjust the website and voting information to make this happen. And we don't have the GNV or the Geographical Names Victoria approval on this name, because what you have to do if this name was approved, for instance, it would have to go to the Geographical Names Victoria for approval, and it's quite a process to do that. So it's quite a difficult arrangement to just make a name for suburb. But we want to get it right. We do want to get it right. But if the name is added to the list of names, we can vote on it, and we can take these things from there, knowing that at the end of the engagement, there will be they will come back to the chamber here for a decision. So I encourage councillors to support the alternative, please, and for the people to vote for this selection of 6 names. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. We'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, I have seen comments on socials that this seems a little bit trivial to be changing a name, but there is actually some method behind this madness, and it comes particularly from emergency services. We can't double up on names. You can't have like there's Mount Ararat Road, Mount Ararat North Road, so that could be confusing in an emergency. So the name needs to be changed to alleviate that. GNV has also now said that we can't have east, south, west. You can't have directional in name. So this is why there needs to be a name change. There are also 3 postcodes located within this area, so this will put it into 1 suburb and 1 postcode, and just make it easier that way. So yes, it is very trivial, but what I'm happy to see is that the community gets to have a say on these approved names, and I think that that's really important. That gives you ownership of this new created suburb. This is your suburb that you've helped to rename. So I encourage you to read the information on all these amazing women, which is another thing that I'm great to see. They're all female names that have been put forward. And so read what these women did, what resonates with you, and what name you would like to see. Have your vote, have your say, and be a part of creating this new suburb in Cardinia Shire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. I would like to thank the Carney family, who actually reached out to all councillors directly and said, what about this? It is really valuable as a councillor to hear from the community, and I appreciate their courage in doing so. I'd like to also explain that originally 1 name was proposed to council, and further behind the scenes, council officers actually reached out to various historical societies and tried to collate a list of suitable names which would have female names in them, which was behind a general push to sort of get a little bit of equality when it comes into place names. So that's so there is, as Councillor Radford said, a method behind the madness or something to that extent. But I think it is one thing I am really proud of is the level of transparency and accountability that I think as a group this council is trying to show our community. And when that email was sent to all councillors, this was acted on, listened to and heard right away, and it is a very worthy addition. So I think it's really evident that that we are hopefully demonstrating to the community what they deserve, which is to be listened to and heard, and being able to meaningfully contribute in their governance, in the governance of the Shire, which, as is their democratic right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Kay Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. It's also important to realise that GNV have published a set of rules which are to be followed when naming features such as this proposed suburb name take place. The rules contain 13 principles and are to be considered when undertaking naming process. The principles are mandatory to council to follow, and each naming proposal must meet all of the applicable principles. There are 2 existing localities. I beg your pardon, there's 3 existing localities and 2 postcodes. It was put to GNV that no suburb naming take place and the existing localities and postcodes remain. However, this would have avoided a naming process. GNV did not support this proposal, leaving council as the naming authority no option but to proceed with this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover of the alternate motion, Councillor Graham-Moore.
Thank you, Mayor, and I hope that the council support the alternative motion to include this Carney's family name in here. This process had to be accelerated a little bit because of the sale of the land. There was the blocks of land that was selling there pretty quickly at the moment, and no one knows where this area is. Pakenham East always used to be where Tumark Valley Road, where the hotel is, and Pakenham East used to be in Main Street where it is now, and Pakenham used to be where the hotel was. So it's very, very confusing, particularly to people buying blocks of land. It's Nunagoon North it's in nowhere man's land, if you like, or no women's land, I guess. And so that's why this has to be accelerated as fast as we can do it. This has been a pushed set up to get this to this point, and very lengthy and difficult one to get through. So I'm asking the community to get behind this and have an opportunity to name a suburb. It's going to be exciting to see what it actually comes up like, and what the plan seems to be is that at the end of the day, the vote of the name will be the vote of the town of that suburb area. So I've had a few conversations with people about supporting one particular name than another. It's a bit like supporting Collingwood or Carlton. It's getting a bit like that. So it's getting very interesting, and the community are getting behind this, and I know the community will have all sorts of ideas of what they think it should be called. And of course, it can't be a surname. It's got to be a Christian name, and it's got to be female. Like, we've got to follow the guidelines of the GNV, and which is statutory from the state government. So we have to follow that. So I was going to be interested to see how it goes for the next 5 weeks, Mr. Mayor, and when it comes back to our chamber to bring it back to the councillors to see what the results are. But I hope that everybody gets behind this, Mr. Mayor, and gets enthusiastic, as I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. So we'll now put the alternate motion to item 6.2.2 to a vote. So that's the 5 names as listed plus Honora, which is the alternate. We'll now put the alternate to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Moving on to item 6.2.3, response to notice of motion, Officer Town Centre update. The officer's recommendation is that council notes the progress of development within the Officer Town Centre. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Tammy Radford.
Thank you. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Colin Ross. I saw your hand first. I'll go to the mover, Councillor Tammy Radford, to speak.
Thank you. Yes, this is in response to a notice of motion that I presented at the February meeting, and I requested this report on behalf of all officer residents who moved into this area with the understanding that an Officer Town Centre was to be developed. The Officer Town Centre development brings with it local job opportunities via a range of retail and commercial premises, community supported facilities and higher residential options close to public transport. All things officer residents are keen to see since the Officer Town Centre Precinct Structure Plan was initially endorsed in September 2011. As development has been slow going and frustrating for residents, I requested this report on their behalf so that we could all understand where the development was at and if it is a council priority, who owns the land, what are the restrictions that are slowing the progress, what is council's role in the development, and what area of officer is included in the town centre precinct. So I do thank the council officers for preparing this report for the General Council meeting tonight, as I had requested. And I do encourage residents to take the opportunity to read through this report, which can be found on Council's website. As tonight, I can only just briefly mention some highlights, which I'll do from the report. So the key documents relating to Officer Town Centre are the Officer Precinct Structure Plan. The Officer Precinct Structure Plan is also supported by the Officer Development Contributions Plan and the Officer Town Centre Urban Design Framework. And the key functions of the Officer Town Centre is the Major Activity Centre, State Government Major Activity Centre, Regionally Significant Commercial Area, Neighbourhood Level Role and Regional Level Role. And the Officer Town Centre is much like most of the areas in the Officer PSP. It's held in fragmented ownership with many small individual lot owners. And within this report, there is a figure that breaks that down for you. So you can have a look at that. So the larger parcels are split into council-owned land and state government-owned land and then privately owned land. A significant of the land within the town centre is owned by the state government, with the majority being held by Development Victoria, the state's development arm. So they have delivered the major roads within this centre, including Siding Avenue, Stroud Road, Coxon, Piggott and Orchard Streets, along with the rail underpass and associated landscaping in this area. Development Victoria currently developing the residential zone in the southeast corner known as Olio, and have also submitted a permit application for the balanced residential land on the northeastern side of the precinct, which is under review through the planning application process. Recently, the land on the eastern side of Siding Avenue in the commercial precinct has been listed for sale. Of the council-owned lands, these parcels are either the civic centre, public open space or a future community facilities as identified in the precinct structure plan. Permits that have been issued or planning permit applications currently being considered for development in line with the PSP within the town centre are also shown in this figure. So have a read through that. There's a table there. There's quite a list there. So I don't have time to go through all those plannings today. So this is a milestone and this is exciting, but it does also not guarantee development. Depending on various commercial and market factors individual to each permit holder or property owner, development may progress with the approval of plans in line with permit conditions into development and use of the site. Alternatively, the land may be sold with the permit, or the land may continue to sit undeveloped for some time, and council officers are unable to progress development on behalf of private or state government landowners. Council can only engage with developers and permit holders on their terms and provide assistance, guidance and connections. So there's a couple of exciting planning permits there at the moment. So yeah, as I said, have a look through those. There's a couple there with some graphics showing you what they're going to be. So there's a supermarket, there's McDonald's coming, there's a couple of commercial businesses. And I think that when we finalised the urban design framework in February, I think that increased discussion around the area and has triggered more meetings to be arranged and held with existing landowners at their request. So it's anticipated that there will be some larger commercial developments. So I'll leave it there for the moment and just let my seconder have a chat. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. We'll now go to Councillor Colin Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think it'd be possible to add more to what's been added already. Thank you, Councillor Radford.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Stephanie Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. This is very, very important to our community. Our community is growing and it needs its promised services. And the fragmented land ownership, state, private, and some that's even council-owned land, it means that coordinating a staged approach, connecting the associated shared services services like the roads or the telecommunications and power supply and plumbing, and with coordinated funding programs, it's extremely complicated. The council are and will continue to advocate and collaborate with the landowners to attract the investment of the landowners in their land. And this is the status quo in other growth area councils too. I've had the privilege to represent Victoria in the National Growth Area Authority Councillor Advisory Group whilst on council, and this ongoing issue for all growth area councils in sites where we have fragmented land ownership, and finding a way to influence the staged integrated approach is a challenging and time-consuming and yeah, it's just a huge challenge. So I'd really like to acknowledge the council officers that do, the council strategic planning officers that do this work every day, and the economic development officers that and the advocacy team who work together to help us develop our growth area. And I'd also like to acknowledge the efforts of Councillor Radford as the ward councillor, who is trying to represent our community to attract this investment with the passion that it absolutely deserves. I've been very grateful whilst on council to see behind the scenes the work that goes in to progress the much needed development, the infrastructure, the services, and I am looking forward to continuing this work alongside Councillor Radford and the council staff to progress the much anticipated development. And I'd finally encourage all interested parties to have a good look at the report, because there is a lot of information in there that explains the challenge. And I think together we can hopefully find the solution, but it will take time, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none. I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Radford, to summarise.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. So as we've both stated that there are a number of landowners in this area, the largest being the state government. The development of the Officer Town Centre has been slow, and although we have had some businesses open in the area, they are struggling on their own. If we want this precinct to be successful, we need to see it developed at a faster and more consistent pace. This includes the completion of the surrounding road network upgrades and a bus service to the area. I've stated before at previous meetings, and will again tonight, that this is the time for the state government to invest in infrastructure that will support the significant residential growth in Cardinia Shire. Whilst we love that so many people have chosen Cardinia Shire as their home, it is disappointing and frustrating that many of these residents are spending wasted time travelling on congested freeways for work, to shop and to play. Our kids want local part-time jobs, our parents want to work close to home, and our families want to shop locally. I am pleased, though, to read within this report that the development of the Officer Town Centre is a priority of councils, which includes continued advocacy to the state government to make a move on those commercial land holdings and to invest in the upgrade of the officer station and the bus networks. It is also pleasing to read that council has issued a number of permits in the last 12 months, and we are receiving several new permits to be assessed. So again, I encourage residents to read through this report and inform yourself. You can follow along with those planning applications on the council's website and stay informed. There are some exciting developments that have been granted permits, and council is actively working to see more, but are unable to progress development on behalf of private or state government landowners. So it's important that we understand that. Thank you.
We'll now put item 6.2.3 to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 6.2.4, Cardinia Shire Council Kindergarten Direction Follow-up. We have a lengthy recommendation on this item, which in summary notes the positive benefits that kindergarten services provide and the significant investment required to deliver the necessary infrastructure in line with the state government's commitment to delivering its Best Start, Best Life reform. The recommendation requests that the CEO is authorised to advocate to the state government that they prioritise kindergarten on school sites, thereby offering seamless integrated service delivery, and that the state lease all facilities to council at a peppercorn rate and that the state government fully funds any shortfall in kindergarten infrastructure projects. Can I have a mover for item 6.2.4, please? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer recommendations as listed.
Thanks, Councillor Davies. Do I have a seconder for this item? Councillor Radford. Councillor Davies to speak first, please.
Thank you, Mayor. You are correct in a very lengthy report with a lot of detail, and I'm delighted to authorise to move to authorise delegation to the CEO to advocate with the state government per the report to enable the service delivery to progress seamlessly. Collaboration with the state has been outstanding so far, and I do hope our strong relationship continues, and for that reason I'm very happy to delegate that, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Tammy Radford.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies. Yes, we are very grateful and thankful to the state government for their support for new kinders. Recently, with Thulis Kinder getting $9 million, that was announced late last year, and so we do thank the state government for that. The kindergarten is a state government responsibility. It is their responsibility for the provision of kindergarten, and these services do provide a genuine and positive benefit to our children. Currently, Cardinia Shire does not operate kindergartens, but there seems to be a lot of responsibility put onto Cardinia Shire Council in delivery of this service on behalf of the state government. So really this is seeking that the state government assist with their responsibility so that we can ensure that all our children get the benefit that Kinder provides. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? I see none, so I'll ask Councillor Davies to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Radford. I'm certainly a very grateful parent of children that have gone through services delivered by Cardinia Shire Council, third-party kindergarten services that have been engaged by the council to deliver the services. As a mother, I certainly firsthand have seen the benefit in early childhood education. There is a lot to be learned in play, in genuine, in child-led inquiry, and it's fascinating to watch and to learn. Cardinia, I think the latest stats had a quarter of our shire under the age of 18, and 3 or 4 new babies certain weeks, and so our growth is phenomenal. So many young people. So the $14 billion statewide investment is certainly having a great impact in our shire, and I want to acknowledge the amazing efforts of council officers to ensure that each and every child in our community has access to a quality service, because it's complicated, and yet the benefits are incredible. So really delighted that to move that council endorses the recommendation as listed. Thank you.
We'll now put item 6.2.4 to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 6.3.1, amendments to governance rules. The officer's recommendation is that council receive and note the recommended amendments to the governance rules and release the document for a community consultation and to consider any feedback received at the June council meeting. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Tammy Radford.
I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder to this item? Councillor Graham Moore. Councillor Radford to speak, please.
Thank you. So it is timely for us to review the governance rules, both so that the current council can review the rules prior to the election and to take the account of the recent recommendations arising from the Operation Sandon report into the Casey City Council. So it really is procedural. It needs to go to community consultation. So again, I encourage residents to read and have your say. And I'll go to my seconder. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Graham Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Radford. Yes, I encourage the community to to read this report. It's just updating the governance rules of what we're governed by, which is a state government framework that we have established. We have to abide by. So it's a huge document. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye, and I would just really encourage the community to read through this and see what it is that councillors have to abide by. We have got certain rules to run by, and they need to be updated now and again. So I just suggest that they read them, and actually there's community consultation that goes along with this. So it's to have their input would be fantastic to have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other councillors? Councillor Stephanie Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I'd like to raise, just for public transparency, that the governance rules are what the council, how the council behaves, and what the processes the council have to follow in making decisions in how the organisation operates. So this is a very important document. Likewise, I hope that, and I believe that certainly the community consultation indicates as such, that the public trust in council has increased. You'll notice there's a lot of differences in the way meetings are ran than there were 4 years ago by the prior council in their last year of the 4-year council term. And that's included major changes in the way our meetings are ran, but also in our code of conduct. And councillors have a lot of power, but at the same time, that power comes with a lot of responsibility to each and every resident, each and every voter. So this is, like, whilst it is dry and whilst it is lengthy, the way the council behaves and the rules it holds itself accountable to, and even the way that councillors hold each other accountable to following these rules and this code of conduct is very serious. It's something I take seriously, and I do believe that I hope that at the end of this council term, which we are approaching, that each and every one of us can look back and go, well, you know what, the community trust is better, the transparency is better, accountability can be seen, because at the end of the day, that integrity is what I expect out of politics, and that is what I and each of my colleagues, I believe, is trying to demonstrate to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. And I would ask our gallery to please refrain from talking when councillors are discussing and debating items, please. I say that at the start of the meeting. I can't be any clearer, and if there are any more interruptions, you will be asked to leave. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Davies, for your contribution. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to 6.3.1 amendments to governance rules? I see none. I'll go back to our mover, Councillor Tammy Radford. Thanks, Councillor Radford.
Thank you, and thank you, councillors, for your words to this item. As I said, it's procedural. The suggested governance rules contain amendments required by changes to the Act, improve public transparency, a gender impact assessment, a human rights charter impact assessment, improve governance procedures, operations and recommendations, and reference to the 2024 council election, and are summarised within this report, which we don't have time to read through right now. So read that, have your say, and this will come back to the June meeting to be endorsed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. We'll put item 6.3.1 to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 6.4.1, 2024 to 25 draft budget for adoption in principle. The officer's recommendation is that the draft 2024-25 budget, including the draft capital expenditure program, be approved in principle for the purpose of giving public notice and providing a period of community exhibition of the draft budget, with the intention to adopt the 24-25 budget at the council meeting to be held on the 17th of June 2024. Can I have a mover for this item, please? Councillor Radford.
I move the officer's recommendation, please.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Davies. Councillor Radford to speak first.
Thank you. Yes, I do agree with this in principle, but I have to state here that I'm disappointed at the removal of line item access upgrade program, which was at an approximate cost of $240,000. The purpose of this access upgrade program is to enable all residents and visitors to Cardinia Shire to participate in aspects of life and includes, but not limited to, the physical environment, to information, communications, community facilities and services. To achieve this, Council consults with the Cardinia Shire Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee, a delegated committee of Council known as the Section 86 Committee. At the July 2020 Special Council meeting, councillors resolved to maintain the important function of an advisory committee specific for the area of disability and inclusion. So with this in mind, I'm disappointed that this line item has been removed without consultation, especially from this committee. Within the terms of reference for Cardinia Shire's Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee, it states as one of their objectives, provide advice on, monitor and review Council's building and facilities access upgrade program of works and budget. And since the inception of the Access Upgrade program in 2018, there have been 31 jobs at the total amount of $1,057,574, all of which were discussed with the Cardinia Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee. So why is this important? Because they have lived experience with using all the facilities within the Capital Works program, and it's important to hear from them directly. I feel like we are removing their voice by removing this line item, and to a minority group, that's something they experience often, and it's not good enough for council to be doing the same thing. Some of the works that have been completed as part of the Access Upgrade program and in consultation with Cardinia Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee are accessible car park at the Beaconsfield Officer Scout Hall, accessible bathroom upgrade and automated door at the Cooyurup Outdoor Pool, accessible toilet and upgrade to the female toilet at the Garfield Bowls Club. All of this was proudly advertised in our Connect magazine, our latest, which I've lost a piece of paper for, our latest Connect magazine with our Deputy Mayor, Graham Moore. So it's really disappointing to see that this has been removed. Whilst I know that new policies ensure that accessibility and inclusion is fitted into new facilities, this Access Upgrade program was improving existing facilities that people with disability lived experience had reported they had issues with. And taking this program away from the Capital Works program, I don't believe meets our council plan or livability plan. So I personally will be making a submission to see it reinstated and request that members of our Access and Inclusion Committee do so also, along with other residents and community organisations who also feel as strongly about this as I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. We'll now go to the, sorry, Councillor Radford. We'll now go to your seconder, Councillor Davies. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Radford. Firstly, thank you, Councillor Radford, for moving the draft budget. I acknowledge that there are winners and losers in this draft, and I would like to work with you behind the scenes to ensure that the disability access upgrades are reinstated into the final version of the budget. And I'll certainly be including that in my own submission. This budget does include borrowing, and that's been contentious. So some councillors don't want borrowing, some do, and some members of the public like us are people that do have a strong view either way on this. Like all councils right across Victoria, Cardinia is facing significant financial sustainability challenges from rising cost pressures, a highly restrictive rate capping, and disappointingly cost shifting from other levels of government. Tax revenue that the state and the feds get isn't limited to a 2.75% increase, yet councils are expected to operate that way. Residents will know that their electricity bills are a lot higher this year than they were last year, a lot more than 2.75%. Councils are innovating, trying to continue to deliver the same services, yet the rate cap doesn't keep up with inflation. And I know I'm a ratepayer. I know it hurts getting $2,000 bill in your letterbox but the majority of taxpayers pay a lot more tax than us. And a key piece of local government advocacy is to other levels of government to say, well, look how efficient we are. Look what we can do. Over 100 services delivered to the community, received by the community. It's really frustrating. So unfortunately, there are winners and losers. But promisingly, in what is issued for community consultation, we're allocating 21.7 million for renewal of our existing assets, our roads, our drains, our paths, playgrounds and swimming pools. We're constructing stage 1A of Pakenham Town Centre's revitalisation project, allocating $9.3 million to continue delivering Sealing of the Hills, which is the road sealing up in some of the most fire-prone areas of the Dandenong Ranges to the north of our Shire. We are able to commence construction at the Upper Beaconsfield Recreation Reserve Pavilion and the Coralline Reserve Pavilion within this budget. We're also completing stage 1 at Officer District Park. We're able to also coordinate health and wellbeing initiatives across the Shire in line with the priorities that were set in the Cardinia Shire's livability plan, the 2017 to 29 priority list, funding the 2024 council elections. It's a statutory requirement. And then the associated development of the new council plan, which will come in with the new council, comes in. And the Shire is also increasing our operational funding towards our tree maintenance and our open drain maintenance. Value for money, having capacity to pay and services accessibility are the guiding principles. And we are aiming to keep our rates and short charges as affordable as possible. I would encourage all members of the community to make their submission. I would like to say yes to a whole lot more, as would all of my colleagues, undoubtedly. But we're trying to make the best with what we've got and to make sure that we're responsible for the citizens of today and the future. So I'm very happy to endorse the draft budget for consultation and invite all members of the community to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'd ask all councillors just to be conscious of time when they're speaking. Councillor Carol Ryan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. With the budget, none of us are really happy. We've been struggling. We've had to juggle things, change things around so that we can supply as much as we can for services within our community, and it's been quite daunting for all councillors because something has to go in all areas for something else to work. But some of the things that are covered by the budget are bridges, children's services, community engagement, community infrastructure, community support, customer and corporate support, economic and community development, energy and environmental management, garbage and waste management, governance, library services, local law enforcement and health services, maternal and child health, parks and gardens, planning services, property and facility management, roads, drains and footpaths, swimming and recreation and youth services. I think the budget does cover an awful lot. And as we said, we are limited in what we get, but we advocate very strongly to state and federal as well to give a helping hand of what our needs are. Some of the things with the Pakenham revitalisation, I'm happy that is still part of it and will progress. The Pakenham outdoor pool, we have spent an awful lot of money on upgrading that, and so with the other pools, there's money there allocated for all pools, not just one. So I'm happy that, you know, the standard has come up from getting that up to what we need to do within our pools. And health and wellbeing partnerships and planning, I think, you know, they're some of the things that I'm really proud to say that are in the budget that are still there. So all in all, you know, it has been difficult, but I will be supporting this.
Are there any other councillors who would like to speak? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, it's a matter of getting the balance right. I mean, it's very difficult to get the balance right, and I understand. I'm hearing the councillors, and I understand that there's getting a balance between what the councillors needs and what they want for the community, and making the balance sheet at the same time working for us. And I believe that the community have to understand, we've been doing this budget since December. It wasn't last week. It's been back and forth. I've never had so many meetings in my life about financial items up and down and back and forth. When you finish a budget, you say it's over and done with, and then you run out of money because of the building costs go up, and of course it changes the bottom line. And so therefore we have to be flexible with what we have out there. But I just want to ask the community to get behind this and read through the budget and see what's in there and see what's not in there for them. And we want submissions. We want to hear what their submissions may be. And I'm looking forward to the submissions from the public when they come out, Mayor. So that's all. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak? Councillor Colin Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. It's really interesting when you have a look back at this budget compared to some previous budgets. When I first got on council in 2008, council rates had gone up 110% in the previous 11 years, compound effect. It's interesting that this year, and I'm a great supporter of rate capping, believing that people shouldn't have to move out of their area when their wages and income only goes up at the CPI rate. 2.75% is lower than the CPI rate at the moment. It's running at about 4.1%. They project that by mid-2025 it'll go down to 3% on projections. It's very interesting. It's good in one way that we get 2.75% increase to less the burden on ratepayers, but we do provide 67 programs. And the thing that probably suffers the most is when they first put in rate capping, being a great supporter of it, the Growing Suburbs Fund was had to be put into play, and that's for the growth corridor councils all around out of Melbourne. And there was about $100 million put in that fund originally, and that would supplement the rate cap so that we could still build more infrastructure for the 5 to 6 families a day that we've had in on average over the last 10 years moving into the area. If people look at the budget this year, our capital works program from last year, 23-24, or the present year, was 113 million. In the next year, it's going to drop down to $82 million, which is a $31 million reduction. And when you have a look at where the money's coming from, our grants program that comes in from the state and the federal government has dropped in our projections from 47 million to 17 million. So therefore, we're going to have $30 million less coming in, and our capital works program is going to drop by 31 million. So there's a direct correlation. I would encourage state and federal governments to see bang for your buck. You move it into the areas where the new growth corridors are happening, where people are moving in. We need to build the infrastructure as it's needed in these areas. We want to keep the rate cap, but we need them to support us with the way that they were supporting us in the past years. Anyway, I think it is a responsible budget, as people can see. We're still spending as much as we possibly can on all those services, on wages, and reducing things as need be with the rate cap. But I do encourage state and federal governments to try and increase things back to the level that they were before, and it isn't a huge impost. When you have a look at the $100 million that went into the Growing Suburbs Fund, that is merely a drop in the ocean compared to the billions and billions of dollars they have in their consolidated revenue. I would encourage them to go back and have a look at that. That is a really good bang for your buck, and that's money that ratepayers don't need to put in and increase our council rates the way that we used to have to in the past with rate capping, which is a good thing, but it makes it really, really tough to do all the things we need to do. Anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? Go back to Councillor Radford to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for your words to this item. It is appreciated. Look, it is mostly positive, but I have to add that I came onto council to be a strong voice for people with disability. So when I see something like this, I have to take this opportunity to speak up and highlight it. And so it is important for me to see that 240,000 put back for the access upgrade program. But in saying that, we do have to be responsible. We have to ensure that we are financially sustainable for the years to come. And so that's why this budget has been really, really tough. We need to seek value for money with an appreciation and awareness of the current cost of living pressures being experienced by our community. So what's the number one important things to you? And that's roads comes up pretty high. So we need to make sure, for example, we're investing in roads. And council has not applied to the Essential Services Commission for a variation to the 2.75% rate cap for this reason, because we're considering the current cost of living situation. So this will come back to the 17th of June meeting. So from tomorrow, this will be open for consultation. So I encourage our residents to read through it and give us your comments, make a submission so that we can consider that. And so tonight I'm just asking for councillors to support for this to be endorsed for consultation. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Radford. And it's been really interesting and really good actually to listen to the debate around the budget. And it's good, you know, I don't really want to be chairing a meeting where something as big as an annual budget for a council just goes through unanimously without hearing from every councillor. So pretty happy with that. I'm personally really proud to be presenting the draft Cardinia Shire Council budget. And of course, it's the last annual budget for this council term, which I think is significant. It does align with our council plan and community vision and hopefully does deliver on our community's aspirations. But I do take the point from Councillor Radford that, of course, there's many other versions and variations on what people would like to see council spend our money on. And I think that's the point. That's the point of why we do this, is that it's not my decision. And really, it's not anyone at this table's decision. It's collectively all of our decision on what council spends its resources on. Councillor Radford did mention cost of living for our community, and it's certainly always front of mind for me. I think Councillor Ross said it well when he talked about we do have significant financial pressures on us as an organisation, but we also experience that rapid growth. So we know our community's there demanding that we put more into infrastructure and we put more into sporting facilities and we put more into roads and we improve that network. But we certainly are working within a financially constrained environment. And I think there's no shame in saying that. A lot of growth councils are experiencing what we are experiencing. I do think it's important to highlight to our community that the theme that our council officers took us through when running us through a lot of our discussions was creating a financially sustainable legacy, because it's very easy as elected officials to just continually spend and spend and spend and push the council into significant debt, albeit we are taking on a little bit more debt here, but into significant debt because it's the easier political story to sell for the short term. So by making some of those hard decisions, and Councillor Radford identified one example that is presented in the draft budget. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It does give our community an opportunity to talk about the type of Cardinia Shire they'd want to see. For us, that when I look at the challenge, I'll speak for myself, I look at it as we're growing really fast right now. And so sometimes in those circumstances, you do need to take on a little bit of debt to fund that for our future community. But it's certainly a tough discussion. I do just want to give a little shout out to our General Manager, Wayne Mack, and our CFO, Alison Southwell, who are here. They have two of many council officers who have worked hard to develop a budget that provides value and does provide that affordability for our community. Service priorities and expectations is certainly something that we keenly focus on in this council. All councillors are keen on delivering fantastic services, obviously delivering infrastructure, which is our bread and butter, as you know. So a number of councillors have spoken to this item, so I won't do it to death. You've heard about a number of the projects that are highlighted, and I thought they were well covered. But yeah, Councillor Moore probably summarised it well when he said it is a balance. It's a balance between what our community needs, and it's a balance between creating that financially sustainable legacy. So we are, delivering this budget on behalf of our community. So hopefully our community contributes to that discussion. Right, let's do it. Let's put this to a vote. Item 6.4.1. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors, for a good debate. We'll move on to item 6.4.2. CT000535 Tender Evaluation Report. Trucks, buses, specialised trucks, bodies and trailers. Fantastic. The officer's recommendation is that council award contract CT 000535 for the provision of trucks, buses, specialised trucks, bodies and trailers as defined by MAV procurement for 3 years plus 2 optional extensions of up to 3 years each with a final expiration date of 31st of Jan 2033. Can I have a mover for that item, please? Councillor Tammy Radford.
I move the officer's recommendation.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Graham Moore. Councillor Radford to speak first.
Thank you. This is purely procedural. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Councillor Moore as a seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. One of my favourite subjects, trucks and buses and specialised trucks and bodies. Just one point on this particular item. This contract's awarded for the provision of trucks and buses and specialised vehicles that we have a lot of them at council. In the report, you'll note that the MAV, Municipal Association Victoria, has had to do with the procurement of this for a 3 year plus 2 optional extensions up to 3 years each. So it's the way they've done the procedure, procurement part of this arrangement, which has had a panel, and it's gone through the MAV, and they've run a process in conjunction with their counterparts all over Australia to get the best deal. And so it just makes it worthwhile being involved with the MAV. Sometimes you look at the fees we pay to be an MAV and you go, why would we pay them? This is one of the reasons to get the best deal on all these vehicles, because this is an expensive part. We've talked about budgets before and keeping the budgets down. This is one way we can keep it down by having the MAV doing the work for us and getting a bulk deal on the procurement of these vehicles and replacements and parts as well. So I take my hat off to the staff for going down this road, because this is the best way to manage this side of our business. And I note there's 44 successful tenderers, so it's being spread out all over the place, and hopefully there's a lot of Victorian businesses that will come into play here for the replacement of our vehicles and trailers, etc., that we have in our Shire's yard down there. But thank you, Mayor. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other councillors? Councillor Colin Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add to this, if you read through the report, it's quite interesting that the MAV procurement ran a tender process in conjunction with their counterparts in Queensland, the Northern Territory, New South Wales, South Australia and Tasmania. And I would say that would have a really, really big effect on the amount of procuring, because they would constitute a whole lot of business for a whole lot of people. So you go there with a whole lot of value. You go there with a really high percentage in the community, and anyone who partakes will be looking to give you a good bargain to make sure that you're going to get the best price possible, which is all about every dollar we spend less on these sort of things we have to spend on something else. And some of those things were highlighted in the budget that we squeeze at the moment. So if they can find more money by saving here, we can spend it somewhere else, and the council has highlighted the different things we'll be able to spend that on, which we've had to squeeze this year. Hopefully this will come into effect and we'll get to see something in the future around this space. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak to this item? I'll go back to our mover, Councillor Tammy Radford.
Thank you, councillors, for your comments when I had none, so I appreciate it. I was just moving the officer's recommendation and I would still like to. Thank you.
Very well said, Councillor Radford. We now put item 6.4.2 to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Moving into activity reports, item 6.5.1, Quarterly Resolutions Report to March 2024. The officer's recommendation is that council note the report detailing implementation of council resolutions for the period to the end of March 2024. Can I have a mover for that item, please? Councillor Colin Ross.
I move the officer's recommendation that this report be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Carol Ryan. Councillor Ross to speak first.
Nothing further, thanks, Mayor. It speaks for itself. It's quite detailed. It goes through a whole lot of things, and Anyone who's interested, have a look through. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Colin Ross. We'll go to your seconder, Councillor Carol Ryan.
Through you, Mayor, and Councillor Ross. I just wanted to mention one item that's new on the list here. It was at the ordinary meeting on the 19th of February, 6.2.2, expression of interest management of senior housing is in progress at this stage. The council supports officers to commence an expression of interest campaign that identifies suitable registered community housing providers who are interested in providing management and wraparound services for senior housing within Cardinia Shire. Prepare a report recommending and preferred provider to cancel for, sorry, I've got to scroll down, endorsement following the expression of interest of campaign. I think this is really great that this has been itemised and that we are progressing in looking at seniors as well within our community that are an important identity that we need to make sure that people are aware that this age group is important identity that we need to look into housing for them. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Colin Ross to sum up, please.
Nothing further, thanks, Mayor.
All right, no worries. We'll now put item 6.5.1 to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 6.5.2, Community Engagement Update. The officer's recommendation is that we note the report. Can I have a mover for this item, please? Councillor Tammy Radford.
Thank you. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. I have a seconder? Councillor Davies. Councillor Radford to speak first, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Davies. We've had a number of items today where we've mentioned there is community consultation, so please look them up and have your say. So this particular item lists all those opportunities for your say and for you to be heard. So a couple of the ones that we hadn't mentioned tonight was the Gambling Policy Review Phase 3, consultation with community on the draft gambling policy that is open 2nd of April to the 28th of April. Consultation will include creating Cardinia page with survey and the rest we've all mentioned tonight, so I won't go over them again other than the naming of Officer District Park, which is open 15th of April to the 12th of May. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. We'll go to your seconder, Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing further.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak to item 6.5.2, Community Engagement Update? Councillor Graham Moore.
Just one point in there, Mayor. I just wanted to add on to Councillor Radford, who spoke so eloquently before about this particular item. It gives you the opportunity to read through this item and gives you the opportunity to look at how the consultations will be included in our community. And just an example of the Pakenham East renaming, for instance, it can be created on the Cardinia page with the survey, a letter to residents of the suburb and the affected boundaries, the QR code posters within the key areas, and pop-up discussion areas that they'll have. So it gives you an idea. If you look up these particular items for community consultation, it'll actually show you the process that needs to be followed to be able to have some effect on those particular items. But that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham Moore. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak to this item? No, we'll go back to Councillor Radford to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. And yes, completely agree with Councillor Moore. There are various ways that we do communicate with you as a community. So check out this item. It'll let you know how you can, or keep an eye on the socials. You might see a poster up at the supermarket with a QR code, or you see some council officers out the front of a supermarket, and that could be a pop-up session. So we do want to hear from you. We do want to hear what you have to say. So please engage with the engagement so that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll put item 6.5.2 to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 6.5.3, Major Projects Report. The officer's recommendation is that council note the report. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cullen Ross.
I move that the officer's recommendation that this report be noted.
Can I have a seconder, please? All right, thank you. We'll go to Councillor Cullen Ross.
This is an amazing report which goes through all of the major projects inside Cardinia Shire happening at the moment. It gives you a progress report, it gives you a completion date, and it tells you where things are up to. So I look forward to hearing the different ward councillors share little bits and pieces out of their own wards, and I'll let them highlight those things. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Colin Ross. We'll go to your seconder, Councillor Graham Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to bring up the strategic road sealing program in here. There was a question tonight about Huxtable Road and Bessie Creek Road, and it is in the strategic road sealing program. It's still in there, so it's just something to be highlighted. The situation will be is when is going to be the issue. But could I highlight the Door Road? There's a Door Road. They say Door Road Pakenham, but I think it's Door Road Narnagoon North is being constructed right at this moment. And I would like Mr. Peter Benesic to pass on to the contractor. Link is doing a fantastic job down there, and it's really looking great. The job is really a fantastic job. It's like a super highway that the community's never seen down there before, right on the edge of my boundary of Bunyip Ward. So it's really good if you could just pass on to the contractor my thanks of particularly their road management and their respect for the community down there, and that's really good. So it's great to see these roads being sealed, even though they may take longer than we envisage. I've been waiting 20 years for this, Peter. So it's really good to see this particular road on the edge of the new suburb, whatever name that may be, down the far end of Door Road, being run right through to the Narnagoon North Hall. So that's all I got. But it's a great this is a great report to always have at our meetings, and once a month. It's like a progress meeting, progress report of what's happening, where it's happening, and where it's up to date at, and where we are. So it's showing our community where we stand. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Moore. Councillor Colin Ross, would you consider potentially amending your motion? I believe Councillor Ryan wants to make. Can you turn your microphone on, please, and put forward your alternate recommendation for your consideration, Councillor Ross?
Through you, Mayor, thank you very much. I'd like to put to Councillor Ross, would you agree to an amendment as this a motion? A motion as I have an alternate motion to this.
Can you please read out your alternate?
If you'd like to read it,
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, my alternate motion is note that major projects report for the month of March 2024 requests that a report be brought back to council at the earliest possible time with a formal update on the Cardinia Youth Hub project.
Thanks, Councillor Carol Ryan. Do I have a seconder for that alternate? Councillor Stephanie Davies. Councillor Ross, are you happy to include that as part of?
Yeah, I think that'd be a valuable addition to the report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we can continue debate on item 6.5.3.
Mayor, I move that we put this to vote.
Do I have a seconder? No seconder. So we'll continue debate on item 6.5.3 under the proposed alternate recommendation, and that is that Council 1, note the major project report for the month of March 2024, and 2, request that a report be brought to Council at the earliest possible time with a formal update on the Cardinia Youth Hub project. Thank you. So we will now go to any other councillors wishing to speak to this item. I see none. So we will now put this item to a vote. Item 6.5.3 with the alternate recommendation as I have read. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. I appreciate that was a little bit glitchy to get through, but thank you for your patience. That concludes discussion of the agenda items listed. We'll move into councillor reports. Councillors, are there any matters to report at tonight's meeting? Councillor Stephanie Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. April this month, World Autism Month, and the Australian autistic community fought for this to be known in Australia is Autism Acceptance Month. Acceptance, not awareness. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 16th of April, you may notice a few more hoodies in your workplace or at the shops or wherever you go about your business as autistic supporters and allies, both autistic and neurotypical, hoodie up for autism. There's so much more to autism than Dr. Sean on The Good Doctor, and I do encourage everyone to watch though. It's a great show. I was delighted to learn just this week that across Australia, we've got 2 openly autistic local government councillors. One's in Victoria, another in WA. Obviously, neither will lead with that in their campaign, but maybe in a generation or so, maybe autism and neurodiversity will be so well understood, so well embraced, and it really wouldn't matter if they did. We work towards a more inclusive world where your gender, your disability, ethnicity, age, and other personal attributes are not only heard and accepted, but embraced and valued. So it's my sincere hope that we hear that more of our political representatives, our business and our community leaders can be their true selves, judged on their contributions and their integrity, rather than things like autism that really don't matter. They just need to be accepted. So hoodie up tomorrow. And finally, working in government, whether we're hired or appointed into our roles like the senior council staff here tonight or elected like councillors and MPs, we are generally united in a shared vision, one of working together towards a better world. And I do acknowledge our Mayor mentioned the sad news that the Victorian member for Pakenham District, Emma Woolen, has been diagnosed with a very serious illness. Her seat encompasses a large portion of our Shire, and I think all councillors will recall, despite a very strong panel of candidates and our history of being geographically pretty much the Liberal Nationals territory, Emma won that election with hard work. I know she personally door knocked thousands of houses and met with many, many local people and earned her win. She went on and has become a very highly respected MP. She answers me personally every time I contact her. With her, as a councillor, I am very grateful for her collaborative approach in shared accountability and in getting the job done for our community. And hopefully that same dedication, that courage and that tenacity that she shows our community will help her beat this disease. I'd really like to wish her and her loved ones all the very best at this tough time. And I'm so glad that she's staying. So she's still continuing in her work, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies, for your contributions via councillor reports. They'll be very well received. I'll go to Councillor Carol Ryan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just a few. On the 19th of March, I attended an official opening of the Pakenham Tennis Centre Pavilion extension. This has been a long-term project since 2017. And finally, it was officially opened on the 19th. And I'm so proud to say that we achieved something that's so special, especially the senior synthetic courts as well, because it'll encourage more seniors to get out there and keep playing their tennis game. The 25th of March, all of us councillors had the opportunity to speak with the shadow cabinet that came down for a luncheon and a meeting with the Mayor and the CEO and other officers. We only had an hour slotted in for us to try and speak with the ministers. I was lucky enough to speak to 2 ministers within housing and social and affordable housing, and advocate as to the concerns within our community, and the Minister for Mental Health, which is a very strong part of why I came into council, for services in partnerships within our community. And they were all very positive feedback, as I'm sure the rest of the councillors got some great feedback as well. On the 26th of March, official opening of IYU Regional Athletics Facility, track and field. Well done to Ward Councillor Colin Ross, because I know he's been working on that project so hard, but also the team behind it, and all councillors coming together to celebrate that. That's another project that's done really well. 2nd of April, the Mayor and Councillor Cameron and myself went to Agapath Proprietary Limited, a lab in Garfield, and it is owned by Dr. Mary Cole, and it was in reference to soil testing and sustainability within our community. And I don't know what the Mayor got out of that, but I think we got a lot out of it. That she's got she's well recognised worldwide, and we're lucky to have her living in Garfield and working in Garfield. She talked about sustainability and about our food bowl and what we need to do now and what we need to consider advocating for within our community and our ministers and all government, state and federal, to be part of it, because if we don't start doing the things that she recommended that are a good idea, well then, you know, we've only got ourselves to blame. So I really got a lot out of that, and I'm sure the Mayor and Councillor Cameron did. And lucky last, I went to the on the 5th of April with Councillor Ross and Councillor Cameron, the Art Wearable Canvas Clothing Show at the Culture Centre. This again is about sustainability and about reusable items, and there were clothing made out of coffee pods. One was an evening gown, and you would not know that they were coffee pods put together, and it was very elegant, the outfit. And there was another outfit that I was quite keen on, that the artist actually shoots with a gun. She takes it out in the field and she works with metal, and so the patterns come up. So very, very creative way of doing artwork, but I was really quite impressed by that night. It was really well presented, and thanks to the Culture Centre. And the blood bank is in town, so please donate blood. People are always needing blood donations, and I'm a recipient of continual having blood transfusions, so it's important to keep that going. So please, if you can, get down there at the Culture Centre or the Pakenham Hall and donate some blood. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan, and it was great to catch up with Dr. Mary Cole, who of course is our 2024 Senior Citizen of the Year, an absolute local legend. Councillor Kay Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I attended a few functions. One was the Tonomuck Horse Trials with yourself and Councillor Moore. It was a very, very interesting day indeed. Then I've had a couple of the obligatory AGM meetings, which one was the Lang Lang Senior Citizens and the Lang Lang Rec Reserve. It was great catching up with the Shadow Cabinet, and I was very fortunate to be able to nail down 3 members of Parliament that I got stuck into their ear over things, so that was really good. The wearable art was just absolutely outstanding. It was a really good exhibition, and I think everybody should go and have a look at it. It was fantastic. Then Councillor Moore, the Mayor, Councillor Kwasik and myself, we went to the Harewood fundraising day. That's at the Historic Homestead at Harewood, and they raised funds for the Kuirup Hospital. Again, it was a great day. It looked like it was going to be a bit dreary to start off with, but it turned out really well. The Mayor didn't dress up like Councillor Moore and myself did, but anyway, that's him for another day. Had the Coralline Sponsors and Life Member dinner on Saturday night, which was just absolutely outstanding. They had a twilight meeting, and I think they beat Tooradin, which was pretty jolly good. If they didn't, they gave them a good scare. I didn't stay till the end of the game because it didn't start till 6 o'clock. So, and it was lovely because they gave me a certificate of appreciation for all the work that has been going on. So that was very, very nice of them to do that. So that's been my month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron, particularly for mentioning Harewood Heritage Day. Of course, during my mayoral year, this is sort of my uniform. So I was dressed to the nines, but not historically. Any other councillor reports? Councillor G. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cameron, for mentioning Harewood. It was a great day, and I must admit it was a lot of fun. It used to be called the Scots on the Swamp once upon a time, formerly, but it's right on the actual outside boundaries of our Shire. It's right next to the Cardinia Creek, on the opposite side to the Turin airfield. If you don't know where it is, it's worthwhile going to see, and beautifully kept and renovated by Dr. Pat McWhirter, who owns the property there. It's fantastic. It was a great day. I was just going to mention I'm on a date tomorrow, Mr. Mayor. I'm on a date with Mr. Yakaboo tomorrow. It's Yakaboo week. It's on. We've got the Yakaboo Festival coming up this weekend, and I went and visited Mr. Yakaboo. By the way, he's not a real person, just in case you're thinking that. And all his tyres are flat. He looked pretty miserable today when I went to see him. So tomorrow I'm going to pump his tyres up and drag him out and take him down the car wash and run him through the car wash tomorrow morning. So that's going to be pretty entertaining for the people down there. So I just thought I'd just mention that the Yakaboo Festival, our own Pakenham in particular, festival been going since 1975, is on this weekend, Saturday night and Sunday all day. So it's going to be a great weekend. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. And can I just say you did a fantastic job as MC at Harewood, and please say g'day to Mr. Yakaboo for me personally. Councillor Colin Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to add a few things to this general report. I must say the IYU opening was fantastic for a group who the Little Athletics Club, who used to go off the grass track, which had the worst toilets you've ever seen, the smallest storage area you've ever seen. It's a wonderful addition to our Shire. It means that schools in West Gippsland and around Pakenham and Cardinia Shire won't have to travel so far to go to do their school athletics. Also too, we've got different groups like the Casey Cardinia Masters Athletics Club, which go there free. They have a free training run on a Wednesday night from 6:30 to 7:30. Anybody can attend. All abilities can go down and enjoy some time with some free coaching. Little Athletics down there is starting to move forward, and with the news that council will be able to put in a temporary facility there for club rooms with toilets, change rooms, social area, and a committee room and some other area there. That's wonderful. Also too, I've been attending lately. I know the Mayor runs at the Pakenham Park Run. Every Saturday morning, mostly, we have over 200 entrants come along to either walk, run, or push strollers, or take their dog on the 5K walk up and down. It's a wonderful time to spend with the community. It's an up and back, so you get to see everyone. Whether you're the fastest or the slowest, you'll pass everybody on your journey up and back. You get to see a little bit of the environmental side of Cardinia Shire as you walk up and down. You get to smell the trees and go next to the creek. It's a wonderful experience. We have over 200 entrants, as I said, every single week. And people notice on the way up and down, we've got some drinking fountains there. Some of those drinking fountains have been provided by Melbourne Water, like the one at IYU, which is something new that they've started to do. They install and they provide drink fountains, South East Water, for and they provide it for and as you see, these new drink fountains are really good because you can fill your bottle, you can drink directly, you can also give your dog a drink at the same fountain. So they are a very usable space. They install them, they pay for them. They've put in 6 so far. I look forward to more of those coming into our Shire to encourage people to go out and walk. Also too, you'll notice on some of our areas now that we have more public toilets than we used to have, which is really good because for a whole lot of different age groups of people, one deterrent about going for walks or using the facilities is we just don't have enough toilets and drinking fountains on the journey. Well, we're starting to get on top of that now. We're trying to make our areas more usable. So that's a wonderful thing. I attended with Councillor Cameron and Councillor Ryan the usable art, a wearable art show. This is amazing, the development in this space. I'd encourage everyone to go down and have a look at it. It's not a very big exhibition, but it is a really special exhibition. And you can actually see where the pieces of artwork were worn in the different shows and won major prizes. They go from everything like recycled clothing, where it was made out of so many plastic bags. There was other ones made out of beads. There was other ones made out of, tin and metal. And it is really amazing when you walk through. And this actually came about because the Pakenham Art Show, the most popular section in the whole art show was the wearable art. And I know Gillian Ronald was one of the people who really promoted this space. And more people would watch it and get involved in the wearable art sort of thing. So that meant the arts team on council, particularly the manager, decided he'd go and have a look, because it was so popular, about what is around in this space. So the Sunshine Coast in Queensland have a group up there which major in this sort of artwork. So he thought, well, I'll bring the best there is in Australia to Melbourne. So that's why we've got it at the Cardinia Cultural Centre at the moment. It's really, really well worth having a look. And the other thing I'm just going to mention is for 14 years I was a delegate with the Metro Waste and Resource Recovery Group on council. Unfortunately, we don't have community consultation like we used to in this space because it became an essential service. And unfortunately, something that did go was the community side of the consultation in this space. But when I first got on council, we only had 2 bins. And then we went to 3 bins because we had our green waste. Then now we have food going in those bins. And we're looking at another bin in the future around glass collection. So we've come a long way in this space in the meantime. I can remember my father, who had a business for 43 years, bobcats and trucks and machinery. We went to tips all the time. 100% went to landfill.
Sorry, Councillor Ross, can you please wrap up soon? You covered
Absolutely.
Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. Back in the 70s, 100% went to landfill. Everything went into the ground. Now, the more that we divert away from that, the more virgin material we don't have to use and less pollutants we put into the ground. And the amazing thing is, what I'm getting to is in the report where we moved the alternate motion, where I didn't get to speak for the last time. If you have a look at the McGregor Road, Hobson's Road, Soldiers Road project on building that road, there will be 1,500 tonnes of recycled glass going to the pavement on that road. Now, that's something that just would not have happened in the past, but now we are using these materials for something useful. And that would have been replaced by virgin rock going in there, but we use recycled material. So that's really, really unique and special. That project's fully funded by council, so no one's putting in extra money to help us. We're doing that ourselves. Anyway, I think we've come a long way. We'll look forward to seeing what we can do in the future with recycling and waste. We've got a long way to go. The container deposit scheme is a really good one that we've got at the moment. It's encouraging people like they did in the 70s.
Thanks, Councillor Ross. Sorry, more than double your time. Sorry, Councillor Ross. Councillor Radford.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to highlight one AGM that I have attended, and that was for the Officer Rec Reserve Community Asset Committee. It was meant to be held in October last year, but due to Rob Porter's ill health, it was postponed. And Rob had been the president for 50 years, so it was quite a difficult AGM to attend on behalf of council and for everybody there. I am pleased to advise that Rob's son, Jeff Porter, put his hand up to be president, and so he is now president. So keeping that Porter family legacy going. And the name associated with that reserve. And I would also like to highlight John Tivendale, who has also been on this committee for 50 years. I think it's actually been 52 years, but he was awarded 50 years of service to that committee at this AGM as well. So I just want to congratulate and thank all the outgoing committee members. Most of them were re-elected, and welcome them all back and congratulate them to being re-elected for this year. They do an amazing job of overseeing that reserve, and a special mention to Jeff Porter and John Tivendale. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rappert, and thank you to all councillors for your reports. It's fantastic to hear what you're doing in the community. I do just want to briefly mention, Councillor Ryan mentioned the tennis club. It would be remiss of me not to say well done to former councillor Michael Schilling. Did a lot of work with the club in the early days, working with councillors like Councillor Carol Ryan and Colin Ross. So Councillor Michael Schilling is no longer on council, but just wanted to give him a shout out for his fantastic work in that space. All right, that concludes tonight's meeting. I want to thank my fellow councillors and those members of the gallery for their patience, and I now declare the meeting closed.